Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here, and welcome to those of you tuned in. We welcome the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, Prime Minister, members of Cabinet, senior government officials, and of course the members of the media. As you know, there's quite a bit going on, some of it related to our foreign and diplomatic relations. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit will address these matters and, of course, take your questions. We now invite the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit to address you.
Good morning to the members of the media and of course to everyone who is tuned in. Thank you for joining us, and of course I want to recognize my colleagues and the senior public officers present. I look forward to taking the questions from the media and addressing the Dominican people directly on the matters that may be of concern to them. This government values accountability and transparency, and I always welcome the opportunity to speak with you, to provide clarity on the position of this government on key issues, as well as the work we are doing to better the lives of the Dominican people. As the government stated over this, first reported by the Times, naming countries recommended for visa restrictions by the United States of America. I want to emphasize that we have not received any formal notification of such a list. And I also made direct contact with the head of mission of the U.S. Embassy in Barbados, who also told me that they have not received any communication from Washington on this matter. However, we are actively making the necessary inquiries to obtain full clarity on this matter. Our ambassador in Washington, His Excellency Steve Farrell, has already engaged with the U.S. State Department on behalf of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and we will ensure that the Dominican people are kept informed every step of the way. We recognize the concern this has caused, particularly among our citizens who have strong ties with the United States of America, whether for travel, business, medical purposes, or education. However, we urge our people not to engage in speculation or fear-mongering. Let us not create unnecessary alarm where there may be no cause for concern. As I've stated, we are actively engaging with our diplomatic partners in Washington to safeguard Dominica's interests. We remain vigilant, watchful, and fully prepared to address any developments. This government has always taken a proactive approach, and we will continue to act responsibly and transparently in the best interest of our people. In respect to Cuba and the medical brigade here in Dominica, similarly, we are also engaging directly with the United States Department regarding the potential imposition of visa restrictions on officials from countries that maintain cooperation with Cuba in the field of medicine. As we all know, Dominica shares a long-standing and deeply rooted relationship with Cuba, built on decades of friendship, cooperation, and solidarity. Our ties extend far beyond healthcare to education, agriculture, infrastructure, and numerous other areas where Cuba has been a reliable partner in our development. Thanks to the scholarships provided by the Cuban government, many Dominicans have had the opportunity to pursue higher education, particularly in medicine and other specialized fields, returning home to contribute meaningfully to our nation's progress. Cuba medical personnel have played a critical role in the strengthening of Dominica's healthcare system, filling resource gaps and providing essential care to those in need. They have stood by our side in times of crisis, from the aftermath of devastating hurricanes to public health emergencies such as the COVID-19 pandemic. I believe that any characterization of these medical missions as forced labor undermines the humanitarian spirit that has defined Cuba's international outreach. This government of Dominica remains true to the bonds of friendship and cooperation we have built with the Republic of Cuba. Our foreign policy is guided by principles of respect for sovereignty, cooperation, and recognition of genuine partnerships that advance our national development. At the same time, we believe that a common understanding can be reached with the United States on this matter. We have provided the U.S. government with information in an effort to help them better understand the role of the Cuban medical mission here in Dominica, because we have come to recognize that there may be some misunderstanding. In respect to electoral reform, I am very proud and happy to say that this week, Wednesday, the 19th of March, we are moving forward with a long-awaited electoral reform legislation. This is a significant moment for our democracy, one that has been years in the making. As a matter of fact, we should have passed it in 2016. The Registration of Electors Bill, the House of Assembly Elections Bill, and the Electoral Commission Bill will modernize our electoral process, bringing it in line with the highest democratic standards and international best practice. These bills will introduce secure voter ID cards, mandatory voter confirmation to maintain a clean and transparent voter register, equal access to state media for all political parties. The government has consulted extensively a wide range of civil society groups, organizations, and individuals, as well as the Organization of American States, the Commonwealth, the CARICOM, and the OECS have been part of this process. We welcome robust debate on these bills, but we are not prepared to entertain baseless distractions. The reality is simple. This government has been transparent, accountable, and committed to ensuring we continue to enjoy free and fair elections in Dominica. So we look forward to taking these bills to Parliament on Wednesday for the second and third readings, and finally passing the legislation required to effect electoral reform and modernization in Dominica. I will participate in the 76th meeting of the OECS Authority and the session of St. Martin to the OECS, that is French St. Martin, Saint Martin. This strength of the OECS, and by extension CARICOM ties, in our unity, our shared goals, and our ability to face challenges together. When we stand as one Caribbean, we negotiate better, we trade smarter, and we develop stronger. Dominica has always been a champion of regional integration. This is why I am proud to stand with my fellow OECS leaders in welcoming Saint Martin into the OECS family. As Dominicans, we must embrace the spirit of unity, strength, and progress, not just regionally, but nationally. This is how we move forward as a people. I thank you, the press, for listening, and I now take your questions. Thank you very much.
We thank the Honorable Prime Minister for his precise but comprehensive remarks. And at this point, as he said, we invite the members of the media to pose their questions, beginning with Carlisle from Nature Isle News.
Thank you very much. Mr. Prime Minister, it is my understanding that an appeal has been lodged in the incitement case that the court dealt with just recently. In fact, that case has been going on for 8 years, and which has cost the states thousands of dollars. Very surprisingly, though, that the state has decided to appeal the incitement case. It seems to be mind-boggling to many that a similar matter dealing with a murder matter that the court also stayed in the Yannick and the murder matter, that the court stayed also, that the state did not appeal that. I want to find out what are the reasons why the state decided to appeal that matter. Also, there seems to be a lot of things going on at the Dominica State Prison. It is our understanding that security seems to be a matter of concern as to persons sending stuff across, and just recently at the court's closing, questions were asked and a lot of things. So can you please shed some light, if at all you know anything about that, please? Thank you.
In respect to your first question on the appeal of the state to a decision of the High Court judge involving a particular matter before the courts, obviously the Attorney General will be in a position to provide you with more details on the arguments being used by the state in respect to the state's appeal. But just to give you a simple response, my understanding from the Honorable Attorney General, one of the main reasons for the appeal is to get the Court of Appeal to adjudicate on the matter which he believes on his legal basis, on the advice of legal counsel, that has far-reaching implications for the state, and therefore it would be important to have another court, or higher court rather, to adjudicate on this matter, to bring clarity to this, so that going forward one appreciates how one would treat with such cases before the court. So that's one of the main reasons. Now, as you will know, and everybody will know, every matter before the courts will be dealt with on its own merits and demerits, and its own evidence and arguments and so forth. So I don't necessarily believe that it is always wise to compare one case to the other, especially if they are different in nature. So I do not want to venture into comparing what was done in one previous matter and what is being done in this matter. But just to say that usually when a matter is appealed, it is because one wants to bring a greater level of finality in terms of interpretation going forward. This is why you have in our jurisdiction 3 layers of the High Court system. You have the High Court, you have the Court of Appeal, and then you have the Caribbean Court of Justice as the ultimate court in our jurisdiction. So, but I'm sure in terms of legal language, I don't want to venture into this. I am just a politician and so on. So I leave it to lawyers to speak about the legal language and legal argument that they would have used in this matter. In respect to the state prison, the issue of contraband at the prison is always a concern. In maybe virtually every prison, no matter how secure it is. There's always a concern of contraband because you're dealing with human beings. And it is a matter which always occupies the minds of the leadership at the prison, and also the police as well, and the wider national security apparatus. And this is something that we continue to deal with, and we put countermeasures in place to counteract those practices. But we always urge persons who have a role to play in the prison system that they must not compromise the security of the state. Because when they compromise the security of the state, they're compromising themselves first, the security of themselves and their families first, and the security of their comrades, fellow prison officers as well. So it's important that everybody recognizes that, even visitors also recognize that they have a role to play to ensure that we all play a part in the security of the state. So it is something that's always been there, and I know that there are measures that have been taken to counter those practices.
Just a follow-up. Whilst I appreciate the fact that you mentioned that you jargon and so on, but very interestingly, this very matter, then Justice Astafan, who is now dealing with a serious matter for Dominica, the very rulings that he used in the Yannick Lander murder trial, this is the very rulings that this judge also used. And I'm saying that, PM, respectfully, that the 8 years on both sides came into play. So I'm still a bit baffled why, it is going that far.
Everybody will have, this is a matter for interpretation. That's why you have a court, and a court will determine this. Even when you have 3 judges on the Court of Appeal, 2 may agree, one may disagree. So people will have different interpretations of any decision that anybody has taken. One is not necessarily saying that a decision is right or a decision is wrong. one just needs clarification. One needs a greater level of clarification. And so let a higher court examine the issues and determine whether the decision taken by any judge on any matter they're satisfied with or they're not satisfied with. We've seen situations where the Court of Appeal has agreed with judges and seen situations where the Court of Appeal has disagreed with judges. We've seen situations where the Court of Appeal has even imposed higher sentences on people or lower sentences on people based on the evidence brought before it and its appreciation of the evidence and arguments brought before it. I've never seen me in my 21 years as Prime Minister try to litigate a matter in the public domain. I have never commented on court matters, even involving myself. So I try not to engage in those matters in the public domain. This is why I do not want to litigate the matter in the public domain at all. I respect the independence of the court, but independence of the court doesn't mean that the court is beyond reproach. This is a democracy, and every branch of the government has a certain duty and obligation to the people who they serve, and this is why the drafters of the Constitution and the drafters of the legal system recognizes that you need 3 different levels of the judiciary, so that you have different opportunities with different pairs of eyes and different legal interpretations to examine the matter. And so I'd rather they litigate the matter rather than I, as a politician and Prime Minister, seeking to litigate the matter in response to a question asked by a journalist. I hope that answers the question.
Not fully.
But you appreciate my position.
Just follow. That is why I wish the AG was there to clarify that. Please, thank you.
Problem.
Yeah, Prime Minister, good morning to you. Curtis Matthew from DBS Radio. As we seek to clarify or get clarification from the U.S. on this visa matter, in 2023, the UK government also imposed visa restrictions on Dominica. That's in 2023. And
that the U.S. has imposed. We do need visas to go to the United States, right? So it's not an imposition of visas. So and I don't want us to. I'm being careful not to speculate or not to. I have no information before me. So for me to answer a question on this matter, I would need to have information before me. I said we have gotten no formal notification from the U.S. government, and for me to give any response or any specifics would be for me to speculate or to go based on innuendo or hearsay and so forth. This is not how I conduct this state business, especially in relation to a foreign government. I would rather wait to get information because I can say to the people of Dominica and I can say to the world, as the world knows me very well, that there's nothing that we're not afraid to answer to. We have been very transparent. We engage government in transparency. People know us. What we're saying in the night is that's what we say in the day. Our word is our bond. And we are prepared to engage everyone, including the United States, in this matter. So whatever concerns the United States may have, which I do not know of yet, we are prepared to respond. So I will not want to say what we're going to do or what we're not going to do because I do not know what is before us officially and formally from the U.S. government.
right.
Yeah.
Asking about the UK government and visa restrictions imposed in 2023, and we were told by 2024 Dominica's case would be heard and probably we would see that being restored, visa-free access. What is the latest, and are you disappointed that that has not happened at this point in time?
We're disappointed with the original decision of the UK government. We felt it was premature, it was baseless, it was unfair. We were discussing with them. They gave us no indication that they were not happy with our responses or engagement to them. But governments do what they have to do for their own arguments, political or whatever consideration they have within national space, and we respect that. We respect every government's sovereignty to make decisions on behalf of themselves and for their people. So we don't take umbrage to any government doing so. If the matter affects us, then we have a duty and obligation to speak about it. But we continue to engage the UK government on this at all levels of engagement. Obviously, one would have to accept that in the scheme of things, what the UK has, the challenges that the UK government is dealing with now, with its economy, with the issue of Russia, Ukraine, and with the dramatic shift in the geopolitics of the world, I mean, you know, you'd have to also appreciate where would that be placed in the order of priority of the Foreign Secretary of the UK government. But we continue to engage. As you saw, we never took we did not approach the matter in any spirit of animosity towards the United Kingdom. We continue to engage them. We have said so to them privately and publicly in a very respectful way that we didn't agree with the position that they took. And I can say to you that many people that we have met in the UK government, both past and present, they have recognized that there is a sense that we may have been treated unfairly. But that's the reality you treat with. And as a government, you stand tall and you remain resolute in continue to engage and to provide information where information has to be provided. And this is what we'll do in this situation once we get the formal notification, if there is any formal notification, because as it is now, it's only media publication. So I do not want to make any statement about the U.S. government or what we're going to say or what they're going to say or what we're going to say. We worked with President Trump in his 4 years as president, and we had good relations. You know, there were no decision taken by President Trump which negatively impacted Dominica during these four years, and I don't see any reason why they should be in this 4 years. Sure.
Another question. We heard from the China Embassy on Friday where the ambassador was really concerned about what he felt could be a trade war between China, of course, and the United States. Prime Minister, any views on what, as he said, what could possibly be a serious trade war between the two countries?
I've always said publicly, and I've said so publicly, that we don't get involved in two countries' bilateral relations. Whatever relationship there exists between China and the United States, that's a matter for China and the United States to define and to deal with and so forth. In respect to a trade war, our concern as Caribbean countries, Dominica included, is that if you have two of the most powerful countries from an economic standpoint not working together, it will have an impact on us. It will have an impact on the cost of living on us because, because the price of goods are going to be increased. And even what is produced in China goes through the United States. We buy it mainly from the United States. And even what we purchase from the United States, we buy it from different sources. So you're gonna see an impact on the price of goods and on services for all of us. And so this is why we always urge our partners, our friends, in that case the United States and China and Europe and Canada, as you see, and Mexico, all our friends. We have great relations with all of these countries. To work out the differences and to come to a mutually beneficial understanding. But while you're discussing and while you're trying to work out a workable solution between yourselves, be mindful of us. The rest of us were not part of the debate and were not part of the argument because we live in a globalized world. Everything is interconnected. You understand, and therefore it's important for us to ensure that when the elephants are fighting, that the small humans like us don't get crushed, so to speak. Yeah. Yes, Mark, please. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, yeah, sitting is okay.
Planned protest action on, I say Dominicans, the opposition, if you want to refer it that way. They have a planned protest action coming Wednesday. And we've heard comments from you this morning indicating that you've advised your security minister to bring in the RSS. That's one question, if necessary. Okay. Would there be a need for that, Prime Minister?
Yeah, well, the point is, we'll have to go based on past experiences. In 2016, we were in Parliament to pass the legislation then of electoral reform, and because some people tend to forget this, we had legislation. And when one looks at the legislation, it is almost identical. What Sudan when I hear people talk about Sudan Byron report, what Sudan Byron submitted and what was there before Parliament 2016, there are not many dissimilarities, And we know what happened. And obviously, the opposition elements are seeking to mobilize people for demonstration with the intention, as they say, to prevent the bills from being passed. Now, how are you going to prevent the bills from being passed if you don't sit in Parliament? What actions are you going to take? So we have no problem with anybody expressing their dissatisfaction with any provisions in the three bills. That's okay. But it must be done with respect to the others who have a different view. And it must be done without impinging on other people's rights of free movement and circulation within the country and within Dominica, within the state. And so we have no problem with that. But all I want to say to people is that the rule of law must be respected. And there's a process by which one goes about exercising their right to protest or demonstrate. And when you do so, it must be done without impinging on the rights of others. And therefore, you cannot go and break the law in the process of protesting. And if anybody who is going to break the law and feel that they're going to do to rush the Parliament, as they tried to do last time, because as you know, Matt, the last time in 2016, the police had to fire gunshots to try to control the crowd, the rioters. That's happened. Let us not forget 2007, February 7, a few years ago. What happened with the burning of many businesses in Rosa? So there's a tendency on the part of opposition elements in Dominica to engage themselves in lawlessness. And all we're saying is that this time it will not be tolerated by anyone. And the regional security system was set up for this very same reason, to assist member states in maintaining law and order and the respect for the rule of law in our countries. And yes, the Minister of National Security has been given the green light to put the regional security system on alert. And if we need them, then they'll come to Dominica to assist us with maintaining law and order. But the bills must go to Parliament. Parliament has been given the lawful constitutional right to be the only entity in the country to pass laws. We went through a very exhaustive, very prolonged consultative process and exercise. And if everybody who wanted to express themselves, there are things that they in these bills which I did not originally agree to, and I decided to give up because to allow the process to go forward. Why do you think that because you do not like some things that you said not in there, that the law shouldn't be passed? No. That can't be right. And the business community, the DHTA and the DIC can't remain silent, and the Employers Federation and the Christian Council and the Evangelical Association can't remain silent when people are not respecting others' right to express themselves. You express yourself, and you on the discussion. We agree to some of your points. We gave up as a government the opportunity for the Electoral Commission to go to major capitals where Dominicans are resident and countries where Dominicans are resident to avail themselves of the confirmation process. We decided, let's bring them to Dominica. So for you to confirm, everybody must come to Dominica. We always maintain that we should have a national ID card that could be used for many other purposes. And if you have a national ID card that you can use to travel within the OECS, that you can use at the banks and you can use in different areas in the country, there'll always be a willingness on the part of the holder of it to keep it close because it has multiple uses, as opposed to having a voter ID card that you essentially use only every 5 years. There's always and if it has no currency, no value to you for 45 years, then you may not be bothered with it. And we decide, okay, well, to allow the process to go forward, let us go with the voter ID card. And we decided to go to a voter ID card to the voter ID card. And so we have done these things. And there are many other things that we have given up in the process that we believe were fundamental. But there are some things that we believe that should not be negotiated because we have a duty and obligation to protect the franchise and the right of people to vote in Dominica. And we should not put things in the way of people to exercise their franchise and their right to freely do so. And this is what some people are seeking to do. And even, for example, people talk about, if I were to answer your question about the issue of campaign financing was never on the agenda for electoral reform until Sir Dennis Byron proposed a draft bill that came straight from Jamaica. And even when you read the bill, that bill requires a comprehensive overhaul. It requires a consultation by itself. You understand what I'm saying? And countries where they have it, and only I believe only Barbados and Jamaica where there's some legislation on campaign financing. No other Caribbean country has it, because these things are very complex and very technical in nature, and requires a particular structure in place if you to properly oversee and manage this process. So, as we've said, and I've expressed that on behalf of the government, that from a principle standpoint and from an aspirational standpoint, yes, campaign financing will be required. And this is why I raised it at the CARICOM meeting once, and the CARICOM was of the view that it may be better for us to look at this thing jointly, and to engage ourselves jointly on this issue of campaign financing, and maybe have a common legislation across our jurisdictions. Because it's a very complex stuff. People who are not politicians, people who are never interested in politics and so on, can write from their private libraries on this issue, because they're not practitioners, and they may have particular views about politics and politicians, and they may express those views. And I read somebody who sent me something last night and so on. It's good literature, but good reading, but practically, what is it going to address? So we believe that the three pieces of legislation are people talk about voter ID card and and overseas voters and confirmation process. When you read this legislation, it is far-reaching. Read it. People must read it. It is comprehensive. As a matter of fact, that should be used in the rest of the Commonwealth. The legislation we're going to Parliament with should be model legislation. It is comprehensive in nature. And I think the attempts, as you know, Matt, better than me, that the opposition is just shifting the goalposts. I see you smiling.
No, I'm not smiling, sir. Let me ask you, one of the fundamental issues I've heard from the opposition and the other civic groups, why don't we just clean the voters list and make everybody happy? An equal playing field.
Free confirmation. No, but you cannot. But you cannot.
We've seen it happen in different Caribbean countries, sir.
Well, different Caribbean countries may have different provisions of the constitution in respect to that. But the process of confirmation, that's what's going to happen. That you present yourself. If you fail to present yourself within the time frame that the law gives you, then your name won't appear on the voters list. You'll have to go through the process of registering yourself all over again. And so the expectation is that the dead people who they say are on the list, they won't be able to appear. And people who live in overseas who cannot come to Dominica for one reason or the other, their names won't appear on the voters list. So we expect that the list should be reduced from the number that currently exists. You understand? So this is what it is. But the opposition, they keep shifting. At one point they want a registration, another point they want a confirmation. So it all depends on what the government wants. So if the government says we want this, they don't want it. Though they wanted something originally. You recall, Matt, it may have been on your program that Mr. Linton said after the 2016, in 2016, that the government removed some things in the legislation, and then he's satisfied. He's satisfied that it is good legislation. Essentially, that's what he said. And so they keep shifting the goalposts. And it is not fair to put Dominica, but we always knew that the opposition never wanted the electoral reform because it is an easy thing to use against a government that's in office for a long time to say, well, it is still in elections and it doesn't want electoral reform. And here's a government seeking to advance it and you don't want it to happen. You understand? So we're going to go ahead with it. It is very comprehensive in nature, and I think it's going to cure whatever observations people may have had in respect to the need to modernize and reform the electoral process of Dominica.
Given the current economic climate where inflation is silently affecting everyday cost of living, would like to inquire if there are any short-term initiatives in place or being planned to help alleviate these challenges for populace. Additionally, considering the potential restrictions being discussed, can we safely assume that this pertains to the CBI programs, given that that 2 of our sister islands were excluded? That's one question, and I want to ask another one while I'm on my feet. Following the successful Carnival celebrations, we have received significant feedback regarding concerns over road safety and driving conditions on the island. Many have highlighted the basic traffic laws are not being consistently adhered to, raising potential risk for both residents and visitors alike. In light of these concerns, does your government plan to reassess the current traffic regulations and implement stricter enforcement measures to ensure safety or safer road conditions?
In respect to the cost of living issue, as you know, I mean, the greater part of inflation has to do with imported inflation. You have, as you know, an issue of supply with the Russia-Ukraine war, and of course the situation between the Palestinians and the Israelis and so on. This is why we're really hoping that President Trump can successfully work out a peaceful resolution of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. This is something that Dominica and all CARICOM countries have been advocating for from the start of the war. That we believe that we need to find an opportunity to create a ceasefire and, of course, a peace deal to be had. And of course, unless you have those issues dealt with, then you're going to have an issue of supply and demand. And we are in the lowest end of the supply chain, and with the cost of insurance, the cost of shipping, the cost of petroleum products, and so forth. So what we're seeking to do in Dominica is to try to rely on ourselves more in terms of our production capacity. This is why we're investing heavily on geothermal, and we're hoping that with a reduction in the cost of energy that could pass on to consumers, that could help their bottom line. This is why we're looking to review the minimum wage with a view to seeing how can we increase the minimum wage. This is why this has been taken to have a very comprehensive review of our pension scheme, and to see whether there's a need for us to take into consideration some variables, the cost of living index, et cetera, in respect to treating with the pensions that pensioners are now receiving from the government of Dominica. And these are things that we discuss with the union, so we have agreed with the police to look at this. And so that's going to be extended to across the public service to ensure that we can look at the issue of pension there. This is why we're having discussions internally with regards to income tax. As you know, I have been advocating for some time the complete removal of income tax, and to allow people to go home with all of their money that they worked for outside of social security deductions. And so the discussion is going, and we're looking at different iterations. If you're going to lose $40 million on one hand, how do you make it on the other hand so that you don't have you do not impose a difficulty in yourself by seeking to address a particular issue? So there has to be a balancing act, and it may come down to a flat rate of income tax across the board, whether it's 5 or 10%. There are different views, or 8% or 6%. So all in effort towards ensuring that people have more money in their pockets and so on. Well, we're looking at this. Do we? And it's a conversation I'm hoping to have with Dominican people very soon, and to solicit your views in the public as to what direction you think the government should take. Should we increase the rate of VAT by 1% and eliminate the income tax completely, or do we have a flat rate and maintain the VAT at a particular rate? So, because you have to ensure that in the process you do not eliminate $30-40 million of revenue and not have another way of capturing it. So we have to be sensible in this, because this is going to affect the delivery of government services. So there are a number of things that we're looking at. Okay? And this is why, Carla, it's very important for us to look within and start consuming the things that we produce. So we manufacture soaps in Dominica. Why should DCP Successors Company be selling soaps in the United States, and we're buying soaps in Dominica made elsewhere? So we have to make a constant effort to purchase things that are manufactured here locally. We have water bottled in Dominica. Why should we be buying water from overseas? You understand? And the list goes on. So we have to also make a constant effort on our part as consumers of goods and services to ensure that we support what is locally manufactured and produced. With regards to the question about the United States and other countries where may have CBI programs that are on the list, as I said, we do not want to speculate. In respect to CBI, we have had an exceptionally great relationship, as a matter of fact, the best relationship with the United States where CBI is concerned. They have been very helpful to us, and from the Treasury Department, they worked with us on the 6-point plan, which we have implemented. The last meeting which we had was with them late last year for a peer review, and there's a mechanism in place to provide updates and reviews and so forth. So on the CBI front, we will be very excited to engage the new administration and to share with them all of what we have done and we're doing, and of course with the memorandum of agreement among the countries with the CBI programs. And of course, as you know, we have engaged a consultant to move around the countries with the CBI programs with a view to having legislation, common legislation on the CBI program, and to have an independent regulator to enhance the transparency of our programs across the board. So if it is the CBI, we would love to engage them and to share with them information on that at any given opportunity. The issue of road safety, at the end of the day, I mean, road safety has to be each our responsibility. You can pass all of the laws you want. If people are not going to drive carefully, and if people are going to drive with undue care and attention, and if people are going to drive while drinking and drinking while driving, you'll have a challenge. And I think what we need more in Dominica on this issue is more education and sensitization, and for us to come to the realization that each of us has a responsibility to ourselves. You know, in France and of course in Guadeloupe, Martinique, your seatbelt is mandatory. But before, they were holding the driver responsible for ensuring everybody has his or her seatbelt. Now they hold you, the passenger, responsible for ensuring you have your seatbelt. So if the gendarmerie stops you, and you, the passenger, you do not have your seatbelt, they will charge you. Before, they used to charge the driver. And so, because they recognize that everybody in the vehicle must take responsibility. You understand? And if you're on a bus and the driver has 2 kubuli in either hands, and he has a whiskey with coconut water in the cup holder drinking, and you playing a song somebody else, and everybody enjoying themselves, and nobody's saying to the driver, everybody, I mean, you can't be driving and so on, and you get into an accident. What's going to happen? So yes, I believe that we need to look at possibly a review of the laws, an enhancement of the statutory rules, and so forth. And maybe one can say the police should pay greater attention to road safety rather than the tickets and so on for bad parking and so on, and so forth. But at the end of the day, each of us must play a part, because I can tell you, these accidents, especially by motorcycle, is costing us a lot of money. It's a health issue. But I believe that each of us must play a part in ensuring the safety of road users and pedestrians alike, and it's a serious issue. But I think more than ever, what we need now, instead of additional laws or because when a man is dead, you can't charge him, you know. The question, how do you prevent people from dying? And I think we have to go through the process of education and sensitization and letting people know that each of us has a duty and obligation to ourselves and to those among us. Yes, ma'am.
Circling back to the U.S. suspension issue, how would that impact our trade, our travel, our diplomatic, our tourism interactions with the U.S. if that were to be confirmed?
Speculation stuff. We have not gotten anything. I mean, you've recognized even in this press conference, some people using suspension, some using visa restrictions, some using different things. So we don't know what it is, because we have not been told what it is. And I said, I would rather wait to hear formally from the United States. We have reached out to them immediately. As soon as I saw the article, I forwarded to the head of mission in Barbados, and I spoke to her by phone. And she too has given me the commitment that she will do some inquiries as well and get back to me. And so we're taking this matter very seriously. I mean, insofar as so we do not know, we do not want to go and try to define what it is, because we have visa requirements to go to the United States. So it's not a situation of visa impositions. So we do not even know we do not know what it is. I read the New York Times article, so I don't want to go beyond just what we all have seen in public domain, and engage the United States in a public discussion that is not on the table. You understand? I've only brought this to attention of the country because it is in the public domain. But I can say, as soon as we get communication, if we do get communication in the United States, then we will certainly be in a position to share that with you and to share its contents with you and to let you know what we're doing to address whatever concerns the United States may have. But from where I sit, I am not aware of any issue that the United States may have with the Commonwealth of Dominica. Even on the CBI program, because as I said, we continue to engage all governments, and the United States have been very helpful. And I will not express the areas that they have been assisting us with at this time, but they've been very helpful where the CBI program is concerned. As a matter of fact, they've been a strong advocate, knowing the importance of the program to the economic well-being of our countries, and especially after many disasters, and of course, even with the COVID-19. It is an important source of non-tax revenue, and this is why all of us must play our part, and to ensure its survivability and its success, because all of the schools that we're building, all of the hospitals that we build, the homes that we've built, paying on our debt, the sustenance of the National Employment Program, all are financed by the Citizens by Investment Program, and I do not know whether 40,000 people can be taxed more than they are now, to raise the revenue that is required to fund the public sector investment program and to ensure that we can continue to reduce level poverty and to enhance employment opportunities for citizens in our country. So every one of us, we cannot continue to look at this thing from a partisan standpoint. We have to look at this from a national standpoint, and how important it is for all of us because every single person in Dominica benefits from the CBI program, either directly or indirectly. And I dare say directly, because the medicines that we buy at the hospital, the roads that we fix, the bridges that we build, the health centers, the homes, the airport that we're building, everyone is benefiting. The direct flights we're getting from North America is as a result of the use of the CBI funds to extend the runway Douglas Charles, and to do the grooving. As a result, United Airlines is coming in, and we're seeing a dramatic increase in tourist arrivals in Dominica. And we saw the extraordinary success of Carnival this year, all as a result of the investment that the government is making and enhancing the quality of our product and making Dominica a major point of attraction for discerning visitors and tourists alike. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Prime Minister, I know you love Cuba, and I think coming in the conference room, you were talking about your relationship with Cuba and what's going on. America's put some conditions here. I heard two of your colleagues from CARICOM saying that they stand with Cuba so much that they're willing to give up their American visas to stand with Cuba. How far are you willing to go with stand with Cuba?
In all our cases, in Dominica case, the Cuban healthcare program is too crucial for the survival of the healthcare system and the provision of care and treatment to all Dominicans for us to give it up. We're not in a position to give it up. And if anyone is going to advocate giving it up, and I don't necessarily believe that the United States is advocating that, and so we have provided them with information to inform them of what this program is about, how it's been implemented, how it's been managed, the benefits to the people of Dominica, so that they too can have an appreciation for this program. If at the end of the day, then we will not be allowed to come into the United States because we decide to stay. If they tell us to go ahead, to end it, which will not end it. So we're not going to end the Cuban program at all. We can't end it. And it's a choice that I would have to make between the Dominican people and a visa. And I don't think that I have to go to bed to think about it, which one I would choose. I have given my entire life to Dominica and 25 years in the politics of sacrifice of my adult life. It's obvious. It's obvious. We are prepared to discuss and engage in dialogue and views on what is right, what is wrong, what can be fixed, what can be improved, and so on. But I don't think it should come to a point of making choices. That's a humanitarian situation that Cuba is helping people with, countries with. I mean, if you go to the hospital now, the Dominica China Free Hospital, you remove the Cubans from there, you'll have a problem. You'll have a problem. And you see, I believe it's an opportunity for us to have, as Caribbean, a wider discussion with the G7, for example, which we've been saying, because there's a vicious cycle. Our doctors are being recruited by North America, Canada, United States, the UK, all right? Our nurses are being recruited by them. So we spend millions of dollars training people, and people leave. And you can only have so many people available to serve. And what do? But you have challenges. You have people who need care. You have people who need treatment. And what do? Do you say you're not going to take it from Cuba because somebody says that we should not? What do? And so we have to be very careful in Dominica and the Caribbean that we don't put this thing in a way to create a problem between the United States and ourselves. I would say Dominica or politicians or prime ministers and so on. I see some politicians trying to do that foolishness. This is about a national imperative. This is about a reality. This is about a circumstance which countries are being faced with. Healthcare is crucial. Is important, and this is what the Cubans are providing for us, and that's what we've been providing for decades now. There's no expectation of any Cuban. We're not engaged in any forced labor. And you would have seen that there are Cubans who have worked on the program, who have stayed. They have built homes in Dominica. They have private practices. They work elsewhere, like they work anywhere else in the world. So I would caution us against wanting to make this, a situation where we want to create a wedge between ourselves and the United States. It's a matter for us to have transparent and sincere dialogue with the United States on this matter, to let them appreciate how important this is for us. And whatever misunderstanding that they have or misgivings they may have, it is our duty and obligation to share with them our perspective so they can have an appreciation for it. And this is what we have done in terms of providing them with information. And when we get an opportunity to continue discussing with them, whatever additional issues that they have, then we'll do so. That's how you engage in diplomacy, and you arrive at an understanding of this and so on. But we live in a globalized world, and every country must understand and appreciate that we live in a globalized world, and countries are going to have needs, and there will be countries who are prepared to provide those needs to us. And this is what Cuba has been doing to us and for us for so many decades.
A few years ago, you said on national radio that next month would be your last month in politics. So how do you stand at this time?
No, I understand. I understand. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Oh, he trip you?
No, not at all. I think I would defer to the party to respond to that question, you know? Yeah.
Prime Minister, is the government of Dominica committed to the development of a cannabis industry? Yeah, that's another question. Another question. You mentioned the OECS Authority meeting. Is that taking place today, tomorrow? And what are some of the other major items coming up at that OECS Authority meeting this week? And I'm tempted to ask you about Windsor Park Stadium and lighting. I'm really tempted to ask about lighting, the very latest. I know that has been discussed a few times last year and this year. And the Arrow House of Culture developments there. It's still closed from what I see. What is the very latest there? I'm not sure.
Yeah, the issue of the cannabis, yes, we are. Of course, the Minister of Finance would have articulated certain policy positions of the government in its efforts to further the country's ability to be part of this growing industry. I believe that there is a conference to be had, and there have been discussions on this, and so that we can engage stakeholders on this. There is also a national committee to spearhead those efforts. Obviously, there are a number of issues that this national committee and the consultation must take into consideration, especially in regards to transacting with cannabis byproducts, because as you know, banks are not prepared to engage in this because it is still illegal in many countries across the world, and so this is something that we have to navigate around, and to see whether the banking system can come to an appreciation that the byproducts are crucial for health and wellness, and so forth. But insofar as putting the legislation in place and so forth, I believe before the end of this year, we will have the legislation in place and a mechanism for certification and licensing and providing of permits, etc., to persons who are interested in the legal production of cannabis for medicinal purposes. The other issue with regards to OECS There are a number of issues that we discussed. Of course, the present world order that we live in is a major item for discussion. The heads will be in caucus for the most part of the meeting. Just heads discussing the global realities confronting us. The issue of the cost of living that Kali mentioned will be also be discussed at that meeting. Then there are some things that I'm not at liberty, because I'm not the chairman, to specifically speak to in terms of the caucus agenda. But other issues with regards to the OECS Supreme Court and the that's long, and there are one or two other initiatives and so forth. But my interest is for the caucus and the items that we need to discuss at caucus that could advance the OECS integration process and working together. Windsor Park, I believe we're getting closer towards finalization of the financing for it. So we're happy for that, and so forth. So, but we're committed to ensuring that we have these lights by Curl Festival of this year. That's our target date. And then our culture, the roof has been completed. The repairs to the roof was completed last week, I've been advised. And the ministry has met with the contractors for the internal works. So now that the roof has been completed, the contractors have to go ahead to do the necessary placements of the seats and the visual and audio system and the decorations that are needed to finalize the renovation of the Arakas culture. So there's been some positive steps with respect to addressing the concerns of the public where the Arakas culture is concerned.
Everybody coughing with a cold and so on, PM. Have you been advised if that cold or flu is much more serious? Because, seriously, you go to the hospital and a number of young children have been admitted. People are missing school, and you're not sure what is really happening. I don't know if you've received any advisory on that. That's maybe much more serious than we think. And on another note, what time frame is the government looking at to cleanse the voters list, considering that it will require at least 15 months before you deal with, say, the dead person's name to remove them on the list? So is there a time frame as you expected to go to Parliament?
On the flu, this flu is very bad. It appears to be a regional flu. But as you know, in Dominica, after every carnival, there's a flu. I'm not sure why they're giving this one. But it is a serious flu, and I believe that there should be some public information and education and to alert the public on what they need to do. But it is very serious. Luckily for me, I was able to trap it very early, but it is very serious, and especially for people who have existing health issues. So if you're asthmatic, you have to be very careful with this. Very, very careful with this, and babies and children. So I agree with you. It's a very. I'm hoping that the health education unit can step up and providing the public with some information on this and what they can do to maintain it. We may very well have to start wearing masks, this period, to ensure that we curtail the transmission. But I take your point on this. The issue of the law provides for a 12-month period for the confirmation process, and it also allows for an additional 3 months if needed to allow for the confirmation process. So you're correct, 15 months, but the law specifically speaks to 12 months with an opportunity for extension by 3 months if there's a need for that. And so that's ample time to get it going. And it's a matter for each of us to avail ourselves to the process, because the quicker we avail ourselves to the process, the quicker the process is completed. So it's left to us to play our part in availing ourselves to the process of confirmation. Yes, Matt. You got some more questions here.
Based on your response, Prime Minister, we don't expect an election anytime this year.
to set aside the provision of the Constitution. So the Constitution is supreme, and the Constitution says that the Prime Minister can call election at any time. He can advise the President at any time. So it does not constrict the ability of the Prime Minister.
I was asking in review, based on your responses, sir. You just spoke about the success of the carnival, sir, and the proponent of Calypso. I love Calypso. I want everybody to be comfortable. Everybody's been complaining about the forecourt is not comfortable. When will we see Calypso move to the main course? I mean, the elder people have to sit and be comfortable. Can we move Calypso to the main? No, well, you can respond that way too, if you wish. But I'm talking about the event and the stadium and the space. We need more space there. So.
To build its own place. But I think, to me, I believe, Martin, I'm sure you agree with me, I think the biggest complaint is the quality of the songs, the content. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we need to help with more songwriters, because I think there's a dearth in songwriters, and because someone has to wait to know he or she is going to the finals to write the second song. You know, but when you had Rabbit and NC and Tranada and Super L and then Hurricane, this guy is able to write their own songs. They used to have many songs, so they're able to churn out the songs, you know, much earlier and much quicker. So I think there appear to be some pretty good Calypsonians. I think they need help in being exposed to songwriters. And so that we have it appears to be an original thing, because I saw Chuck just speaking about this, that Calypsos lack act and they lack form. He was giving a lecture, an interview on this, and I happened to watch it, and he was raising concerns about the quality and the content of the lyrics, and because sometimes you don't know whether a song is a bouillon or soca or calypso, and to me we have to define this thing, or whether it's a gospel song. So I try not to make comments on those things, because you know people, and then they may need to. I mean, they may need to get on a subject, another subject to write on. I mean, all songs about me, right? All songs about Skerrit, man. You know, something about Skerrit. You must find Skerrit. Talk about a pastor, you have to Skerrit. Talk about a priest, Skerrit, only priest. You know, just water, Skerrit, water. Huh? The Monarch, but good for her. But at least she had a different writer. Yeah, you sing on him.
In at GIS now, the place closed up. I heard the health authorities closed down the place. We'll talk about that in a little. You'll tell me. But on a next lighter note, you seem to be having the winning formula. We see your team, DFA, that's Roosevelt Skerrit Bombers, Starlights winning the DFA Women's Premier League. What's the winning formula now?
Team, you know, yeah, those great. Well, I think women are committed to the sport, and they appear to be engaging in more physical practice, and that's a problem you have in sports. People just drop on a bus and go and play football coming from Oak Street, and with no preparation, no team spirit, no building or having team spirit, and so on. And I think this is where we have to work on where we're sports guys. So guys have the natural art form, they have the natural abilities, but they're not spending enough time honing that and practicing it and getting it out. And I think that we have to spend more time, because most of the playing fields now have lights at night. So you can play at night. You can practice at night. When people come in, you know, you guys wanted more land down there. I don't know why, but you got more land. So we have to give you more land for the playing field in Point Michel. So we need to guys to practice more, and I'm hoping that that people can make use of the playing fields during the day and during the night, so that we can build physical strength and mental strength, and enhance our natural abilities. So this is what it is. So I congratulate the women's team for winning the tournament. Very well done.
So about the health situation at GIS?
My understanding is that I have a different view about mold in Dominica. I mean, we are you're a tropical island. You didn't have wood, you didn't have concrete, you didn't have water, you didn't have rain. The reality is, every one of our buildings in Dominica has mold in it. Everyone. You understand? There may be levels that may be higher than others and so forth. And if the health department says it has mold and we should close, then I guess that's what the supervisors and the heads of the department will have to do. But I have a different view, not to set aside any particular concern. But I remember we closed the Rosa Health Center. We did nothing to it, and Austin's took over it, and there's never been any complaint about mold at the Rosa Health Center. So we have those issues there sometimes, and if people say the building getting them sick, and you do not want to second guess them, and therefore action has to be taken. But people also appreciate that rain and the slightest crevice you have in your house and so on, and you'll see anything mildew, you'll see that's mold, and so forth. So, but it is what it is, and I think my understanding is that they've had to close the building for some time, and maybe that building maybe need to be demolished and reconstructed. So it's a decision for the ministry to advise the cabinet on what happens next. But I want to thank all of you for your wonderful questions. I think very, very sensible questions and profound questions. I appreciate that, and I hope that my answers were adequate and matched the quality of your response or your questions. We gave to you in a transparent way, and we look forward to future engagements. I believe such engagement is important because you represent the interests of the public and you express the views of the public for questions, and I'm hoping that you can pass on those responses to them, especially those who may have asked you specifically to ask more the questions. It's still coming in, you see. It's still coming in. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So we look forward to that. I think the mutual respect is always strong and present, and we appreciate that. I wish everyone well. Let us stay safe, and let me say to those to the country that we go to Parliament on Wednesday, let us not get engaged ourselves in foolishness. The Parliament is the Parliament. The Parliament is going to pass laws, and let the Parliament do its work, and to give the authority to the Electoral Commission to carry out its mandate of electoral reform. And so there's no need to waste people's time and to waste the state resources. When the police is supposed to be going out there looking for illegal firearms, they have to be spending man hours preparing and engaging in a protest action. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a waste of state resources, a waste of taxpayers' resources. These are resources that we can spend elsewhere, and that could help the citizens of Dominica buy windows and doors for people for their homes. Fixing old ladies' cupboards that's broken down. But the police now have to be engaged in all of this expending of resources. It's a lot of money to spend. All the police who are out on leave or off days, you have to call them in from the off days and the rest days to be part of ensuring that the security of the state can be maintained. I mean, we have to be sensible. We went through a process. The process was engaging, transparent, it was carried live, it wasn't held in any dark room. Everybody was able to express themselves. Nobody was denied an opportunity to express himself or herself. Ideas were submitted, ideas contended, and at the end of the day, there'll only be one idea to go forward. It might reflect yours, great. It may not reflect yours, great. But the process must go on, and let us be sensible about this, and let us not bring in red herrings that make no sense and has no bearing on the process. To recognize that there's no law that a country will pass that every single person in the country will support it. None. And these laws, these bills that are going to Parliament are no different. And so let us appreciate that and let us move forward. And because the next step of the government really is to look at constitutional reform. Like I believe it's important that after so many years of independence, that the country needs to take into consideration the realities of this world and the challenges confronting Dominica, and to position the Constitution to facilitate Dominica in achieving and overcoming those objectives and those challenges. Well, thank you very much. God bless all of us. Thank you.